You can't just go out to the club. You need to go to the Christian club.
Yes.
You can't just, you can't just use a Ouija board. You need to get a Christian Ouija board.
Jamal Bryant is a very dangerous pastor. He's not a man of God. He's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. But the problem is he has such a large influence and he has a gigantic church based out of Atlanta. But with teachings like this, it's no wonder why he even has anyone in his audience at all. These types of beliefs, guys, are not godly. You need to be aware of this type of teacher. This is a false teacher, and the Bible tells us to expose people like this. Understand this is a public ministry. He makes these videos publicly. He does this in front of a congregation. He broadcasts them live to the world. So what we have to do, and I know people don't like it, is we have to address it publicly. We have to call out sin publicly. We have to shout it from the rooftops, from the watchtower. We have to blow the whistle, guys. We have to sound the alarm, blow the trumpet. Don't hear the trumpet and ignore it, guys. This is a rally cry.
You don't have apostolic fathers giving correction unless you're a pregnant teenager.
Right. Then we got to bring you up in front of the church.
Oh, yeah. Now, nothing else. We ain't say nothing about babies in cages. We ain't going to say nothing about Palestine.
No.
Nothing about Sudan. Nothing about Haiti.
No about
Bring me this 15-year-old, and the word of the Lord is don't have a baby shower.
I mean, when you're...
Oh, Mary, don't you weep.
When your theology is rooted in shame, that makes sense.
Woo! Listen. Listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your relationship...
Here's the problem. Jamal Bryant should be correcting this guy. He should be telling him that it's not about that. It's about following Jesus. It's about having a relationship with the Lord. It's about what Jesus did on the cross. So we can not walk in sin and the shame that comes from that sin.
It's rooted in sin consciousness, right? That everything we do revolves around trying to avoid sin.
Yeah.
Sin consciousness. What labels are we trying to put on things now? We've always got to be so profound and we got to have like these labels to plaster on things. If you are a Christian, you do need to be aware of sin. You do need to understand the things that you do that are sin, that the world packages up as it's not sin. Because in the end days, everything that is good is going to be called bad and what is bad is going to be called good. LGBT is called good now. Being a gay pastor is called good now. Being promiscuous and sleeping with as many partners as you can called good now. People actually promote doing these types of things because you get to gain some experience. But being a traditional wife nowadays and doing things the way that the Bible says is called bad and outdated and antiquated. What the heck is going on here with this stuff, guys?
And then the definition of sin gets lost in translation because it's different everywhere you go.
Yes.
So then we just associate shame with stuff that really ain't harming nobody.
Yeah.
But it disturbs our theological sensibilities and our social sensibilities. So it's like we stigmatize that thing associated with shame and disgrace.
The problem is that it really is hurting somebody. The lifestyle of sin, living your own truth, doing what you want to do, being your own God, listening to wolves in sheep's clothing, proclaiming to be followers of Christ, spreading misinformation, that does hurt people. That leads people away from heaven and straight to the pits of hell. Then they try to package it as an attack, saying that these things are being stigmatized. There's no stigma. This is just truth. You can't be a fornicator and think that you're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. You can't be an idolater and expect that you're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. It just doesn't work like that.
Whole thing on have life and have it more abundantly for what I'm going to call fundamental saints. We used to reduce to Jerry Falwell, but fundamental saints is go to church and go to the buffet. that's a full life. Yeah, so
and that is a problem because that's not all the Christian life is cracked up to be. You don't just go to church on Sunday and then boom, hit the buffet and it's over with. You're done being a Christian for the rest of the week. It's a lifestyle. This is a day-to-day decision. You got to take up your cross daily and follow Christ. You got to die to yourself. You got to die to your sin. You got to die to your desires that don't honor God and follow Christ. Does this mean that you can't have fun? Does this mean that you can't do things? No, that's not what it means. But you got to check your heart. You got to check the things that you're desiring. Are these things that are godly? Are these things that are going to take you closer to Christ, or are these things that are going to take you further away from Christ?
The church has so shrunk wrapped your life that anything you do for enjoyment, for leisure, for pleasure, or for stress release is in fact frowned upon.
Yes.
Anything that you do for pleasure, I don't know exactly what he's referring to, but you can do tons of things that are fun, that are filled with pleasure, that you can enjoy yourself as a Christian. There's just limitations on things. Are you talking about sex? Are you talking about drugs? Are you talking about things like that? Are you talking about drinking? Those are things that you shouldn't be doing as a Christian. If you want to say that that's stopping you from having pleasure, you need to reevaluate what your form of pleasure is.
Because fundamentalist Christianity colonizes everything it puts its hands on.
Wow.
So we have to make everything Christian.
Yes.
Right. So you can't just go out to the club, you need to go to the Christian club.
Yes.
You can't just, you can't just use a Ouija board. You need to get a Christian Ouija board.
No, even a Christian Ouija board is still demonic. This is New Age. This is not something that you should do. You are not going to be communicating with Jesus on the other side of that Ouija board. You're going to be communicating with a demon. You can't package it up. You can't take occult things and package it up in a Christian bow. It doesn't work like that. And there's nothing wrong with having Christian versions of things, because the world doesn't care about Christians. The world doesn't care about your salvation. And this is the problem inside the church. People outside the church even, they get mad because we ask for tithes and offerings in the church. But then you go out here and you give Nike, you give the weed man, you give Swisher Sweets all your money, you give Hennessy all your money, but you don't want to do anything that's going to benefit the kingdom of heaven. If you know somebody and you're a Christian, they have a Christian clothing line, go buy their clothing instead of going to buy Nike. If you know someone that has a Christian product, it's a Christian soap company, go buy soap from their company instead of going and buying soap from Dove or Dial or Axe. We don't support Christians well enough. We always run to the world. We always go to the world and give them our money. We give them our support. People support the crap out of Oprah, and she's a witch.
Right. So you can't just go out to the club. You need to go to the Christian club.
Yes.
You can't just, you can't just use a Ouija board. You need to get a Christian Ouija board, right? You can't just do things you can't just go to the comedy show. You got to go to the Christian comedy show. And I don't have any problem with these Christian spaces, but when you lift them up as a standard and everything else is demonic, then I got a problem with you.
Look, guys, I'm not saying that everything is demonic. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that there's certain things that are. Now, there's certain things that we just don't need versions of. Christian dating sites are just as worldly as regular dating sites. Always going to be somebody on there that doesn't have the true values of Christ, because there's a lot of people that say that they're Christians and still live worldly lives, and you can't even tell. Jamal Bryant being one of them. Certain things I just don't think we need. I don't think people should be on dating sites, although I do know people that have gotten married from dating sites. So I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But what I am saying is that the overwhelming majority of people that are on these dating sites are only looking for one thing. You also can't get the true grasp of what a person looks like, sounds like, who they are. Everybody uses filters. They use angles that make their body look great. They portray an image of someone that they truly aren't. It's the best way to meet somebody is in person, guys. So just leave the Christian dating sites out of it. Christian clubs, never heard of this. Maybe there's a positive side of that, but I still just don't think that's something that we should be trying to adopt in the Christian culture.
You are demonizing people who are simply trying to live their life and they're not hurting nobody. And I want fundamentalist Christians to leave people alone.
I'm not going to leave you alone. If you're living a life of sin, it is hurting somebody. And it's also setting a bad example for other believers. Because if they see you, a LGBT member, in drag or whatever, preaching at a church, they're going to think that's okay, but it's not. That's a demonic doctrine. You're going to go to hell. So that is hurting someone. We can't just leave stuff alone, guys. Don't believe this fallacy of that we can't call one another out, because the Bible tells us to call out those in the church. We have to address those in the church. Let God deal with those outside the church. It's not none of our business. That's for God to handle. But when we see our brother and sister spreading misinformation or lies or false teachings like this is where we got to stand up. Stop being soft, guys. If you see this type of stuff in your church, get up and walk out. Don't stay in the church. Stop tithing your money to them. You stop attending, they will. What's going on? What am I doing to run all my people off? They're going to find out what they're doing wrong. And maybe they'll repent, maybe they won't. But you won't be led astray. This type of teaching is dangerous, guys. This type of teaching has to stop. Stand for the truth of God. That's going to do it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.